Welcome back to my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. Held accountable. And I guess we'll go into this once again because the Joker fans, they do not understand what I was talking about when I made the video last night. And we're going to hold SGA accountable for this game 7 as well as Joker. It's just not on Joker. And we're going to talk about held accountable because a lot of these guys, Joker fans, they don't understand this. And I want to give a shout out to Sports and Fitness Ranch for basically holding his breath on Michael Jordan fans are the best. In this game 7 matchup, I think he kind of held his breath against Scap, as Scap basically made up excuses like he usually does for Joker. And, I just want to give him a shout out that he didn't really go off on Scap. He tried to keep his cool and, I guess he wants to see the game played out, but I'm not going to hold my breath on this. I'm not going to hold my breath on this because the Joker fans don't understand what I'm trying to say. And what I'm trying to say is, look, yes, Gordon is out, which again, I don't understand. Where was the injury in game 6? I didn't see it. I didn't see him on the ground holding his leg or whatever's wrong with him. I didn't see it. So what's going on? Did it happen in practice when he got in the car? Blah, 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 blah. But the fact is, I'm not expecting Joker to carry this all by himself. I'm holding his teammates accountable too. I said that his teammates need to step up. Porter Jr. needs to give you, the replacement stats of Gordon. Westbrook needs to step up. Brown needs to step up and put on, well, these two put on a great performance, right? Of course, we expect Murray to step up and have one of his all-time games. But to me, for Joker, your guy is out. Your guy can't put up these points. You need to put up 50 points. 50 points, okay? We done saw all-time great players like Michael Jordan. They was comparing Joker to Michael Jordan when he was on his run a couple years ago, and he put up all these stats, right? So if Michael Jordan can put up all-time great stats, when Scottie Pippen, I wouldn't say they were all-time great stats, but he pretty much was clutch in 98 when Pippen hurt his back, or in 93 when it was pretty much even against Phoenix and he put up 41 points per game, okay? 91 when Michael Jordan put up all-time great stats against the Lakers. We all know that we have the recording after the Bulls won that they had the Lakers beating the Bulls. And Michael Jordan put up all-time stats. Was anybody hurt? No, on the Bulls. Nobody was hurt. But Michael Jordan put up all-time great stats to win his first championship. That's all I'm trying to say. When they went against Portland, Scottie Pippen really hadn't established himself as nothing. He was a one-time All-Star, he was All-Star in 92. So I guess he was two-time All-Star. But there's guys who has three-time All-Star and they're not in the Hall of Fame or top 75. Michael Jordan put on an all-time performance against Portland. Now, again, with Gordon down, whether he plays or not, whether Denver wins or not, Joker needs to put up an all-time performance. Of course, he's not going to average 50 per game in his series or 40 points per game in his series, but I'm just saying he needs to put up 50 points and put on an all-time performance. I don't want to see in a losing effort this guy puts up like 25 points, 25-point triple-double. I do not want, and they say, oh man, they were limited and all this stuff. I want to see you lose and put on an all-time great performance. Michael Jordan and other great players in a losing cause have put up all-time great performances or great performances in a loss. That's not what I want to see. It's, oh man, we were up against it. Let's say they get blown out. Let's say they go 3 quarters and they end up get blown out in the 4th. So to me, you still can't have an all-time great performance in the loss. This is trash, man. I don't want to hear none of this from Joker fans, and I'm holding Joker accountable. Now, I have Joker as the greatest player in the 2020s, and I have him above LeBron, which is, most people say, oh man, that's crazy. LeBron has 4 championships, 4 MVPs, 4 finals MVPs, but all of his championships, he had a super team. All of his finals MVPs, he had a super team. And some of those finals MVPs, he didn't deserve them. 2 of his MVPs, he basically didn't deserve them because he had a super team. So that's why I can put Joker over LeBron James, because Joker has always did it right. So I'm not hating on Joker. I'm just holding him accountable as an all-time great. That's all we're doing. Okay, when Kareem went down, Magic turned into a primetime player. When they, I'm not trying to put Worthy in this, debate or whatever like that, put him in all-time greats as far as, top 10 or anything like that, but Worthy came through in the finals. I'm just saying, man, we got to hold him accountable in the game 7 to put on an all-time great performance. And the fact that they have taken OKC to a game 7 where we hear about this, the greatest team of all time, according to differential. I'm just, I was watching Michael Jordan Fans Are the Best, and I just, I'm glad I'm not on that panel, because I cannot hold my breath while Scap is running his mouth about comparing OKC, this year's OKC team, to some of the greatest teams that had some of the best plus minus offensive and defensive differentials. I can't. And why I can't do that is because they haven't proven nothing. This is the second round. They haven't proven nothing. They haven't won a championship. They haven't been good for, 3 years or nothing like that. I can't hear this, man. This is too much for me. And again, Denver is a number 4 seed, and the fact that they have them to a game 7, it means nothing to me what OKC has done this year. SGA has not been putting on all-time great performances. And what was it? Sports and Fitness Rant said, basically, Joker has outplayed SGA in this series. And, Scott will talk about the other players on OKC and, their bench and all that. Okay, whatever. This is for 1 year and they're in the second round. They're not in the third round. They're not in the fourth round. They haven't, their bench and their role players haven't did nothing for a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year stint. This is 1 season, and they've gotten to the second round, and they have been taken to a game 7 against the number 4 seed. They played nobody in the first round. If they were this great team, they would have closed this out in 6, maybe in 5. If we're talking about this all-time great differential and how deep their bench is and how good their role players, this should have been closed out in 5 or 6 games. I don't care if Denver loses. I don't care if they get blown out. Joker better put up an all-time great performance. Give me 50. Give me 12 to 15 rebounds. You can stick the assist in your butt. I don't care. But this is what you need for me to be satisfied. For Joker not to be an all-time great, he is, but to be an all-time great clutch performer in a game 7 with one of his guys down. That's all I'm trying to say. Now for SGA, for you having one of the greatest teams of all time, supposedly, for you having this MVP season, which he did, my vote is to SGA, because to me, his team hasn't proved nothing. To me, they're not all that good because, again, they have his role players, his bench. They haven't proven nothing over a 2-3 year span. So SGA needs to come through. If he doesn't come through, he's one of the biggest choke artists of all time. Now, if he gets in this game and he puts up SGA numbers of the regular season, if they lose, while he's putting up SGA numbers in the regular season, I'm cool with that. Now, if they win and he don't put up SGA numbers, he got carried. He got carried. And he's been getting carried in some of these games. In this Denver series, he got carried in the first round in some of those games. So we're going to hold him accountable. It doesn't take away from his MVP at all from the regular season, because that's what it is, a regular season award. That's all it is. But at the same time, he's going to be held accountable whether they win or they lose. And we can say the same thing for Joker. Whether they win or they lose, he's going to be held accountable. I don't want to see Joker scoring 25 points and his teammates score 27, 22, and stuff like that. Yeah, great for a win. But you didn't go out there and put on an all-time great performance. And like I said, if you lose and you put up 22, a 22-point triple-double, a 25-point triple-double, to me, that ain't good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. So they're both being held accountable, Joker and SGA. I mean, this is the era of all this scoring that's supposed to be going on. Now, I know they've been playing more physical defense, but they fired the head coach. Joker is really the de facto head coach of this series. You know, I've heard Scap say, oh, man, if they do win, they're out of gas in the next series. How are they out of gas? The Timberwolves, they're not as good as OKC. They're not. We saw in the first series against the Lakers and against the Warriors, Julius Randle outplayed Anthony Edwards in several games, whether it's offense or defense or both. So they're not outplayed. Joker will go against Rudy Gobert and have a field day, probably foul him out. And their perimeter players on Minnesota, they're not no better than Denver. The Wolves have proven nothing. OKC has proven nothing. That's all I'm trying to say in this whole matter right here. There's no excuses. If you go out and you perform, it's cool. We done seen other players go out and perform from, Alonzo Mourning. He loses. He went out there and performed against whatever team. Patrick Ewing went out there and performed. He lost. Charles Barkley went out there and performed. He lost. Wilt went out there and performed. He lost. Jerry West went out there and performed. He lost. John Stockton went out there and performed. He lost. Clyde Drexler went out there and performed. He lost. Isaiah Thomas went out there and performed. He lost. Magic went out there and performed. He lost. Kareem went out there and performed. He lost. Need I say more? That's all. We're not trying to hold Joker to any different standard than what the standard was of any all-time great when they lost. There's been all-time great players who got hurt themselves, not a teammate, themselves, and they went out there and performed. There's no Joker hate. Joker hate would be like, oh no, he's not the best player in the 2020s. Oh, he's not that good. But we got to hold him to the standard. That's the problem with the 2020s. They just want to say, oh, these guys are the most skilled. These guys are the best we ever seen. But when it comes to holding them to a standard, it's hate. See, players in the day when they lost or they got hurt, they just got hurt and lost, or they lost, period. But they went out there and performed. All these excuses in the 2020s is ridiculous. We're not trying to put an asterisk on them winning per se. I mean, we could with some of these teams winning because other teams got hurt. But we haven't, we didn't. It's not going on this year like it's been going on last year. Last year for Boston, I do put an asterisk on that championship. I have to. And when it comes down to it, again, if Joker doesn't go out and perform and doesn't put up all-time great numbers in a loss, guess what? We're going to have to hold him to the standard and gauge that one championship he had. And that one championship he had was beating an 8 seed. Realistically, that's worse than what LeBron James and the Lakers, when they beat that same Miami Heat team in the bubble. And that Miami Heat team, I thought they were a lower seed, but when I checked, they were a 5 seed. They were a 5 seed. That Miami Heat team that Denver beat was an 8 seed. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they were a play-in team. So we can actually say the championship that Joker won against Miami is worse than the championship that LeBron James won against Miami in the bubble. And yes, he beat a LeBron James team on the way there, but he swept them. So how good was that LeBron James team that he swept? Wasn't that good. Now, if he would have took them to, 6 games, okay. They swept them. They swept them. 2 top 75 players swept them. And what was he, like, 37, 38 years old LeBron James? It was definitely better than the 40-year-old LeBron James of this year. So that's what I'm trying to say, that the standard is going to be held. And we're now, did he deserve all his MVPs? Yes. I'll give him that. And did he get cheated out of MVP last year? Yeah, I can say that. Joel Embiid did not deserve that MVP. And when we look at it, we always say it's a regular season. And it was, but Joel Embiid did not deserve that MVP. But Joker doesn't deserve this MVP. He just don't. SGA in the regular season played offense, defense, and led his team to one of the most historic seasons. If you want to say differential, yes. But to me, the big thing was, as I start getting like halfway through the season, I'm like, well, I'm taking SGA, not only because he's putting up numbers, is because they say this is a team award. His team was playing for him. because SGA was doing big things, just like Joker. When he was winning MVPs, his team was playing for him, and it's a kind of like a team award. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, I get all this Joker hate. No, I'm just holding him to a standard. I don't expect him to win. I don't never expect him to win any game. I just expect him to be an all-time great player, whether you win or you lose. And guess what? We've seen all-time great players be all-time great players, whether they won or they lost. That's why they're in the Hall of Fame. That's why they're top 75. That's why they're all-time great players. Not just because. No, because they was able, no matter what, victory or defeat, to leave it all out on the court. So that's what we expect for Joker. We don't expect excuses. And to me, again, I don't like what's going on. It's funny business. It's fishy because I haven't, you guys let me know. I haven't heard nothing. And, I don't expect them to talk about this on Michael Jordan Fans Are the Best because they don't go that far. And they got great content. But, the fact that we didn't hear nothing about Gordon being hurt in the last game. They didn't say nothing about it on the panel today. But to me, it's interesting that, we didn't hear nothing about it in game 6. When did it happen? Did it happen in practice? You guys let me know. I don't know. I just expect something this big to happen on the court. Maybe I didn't see it. Maybe I didn't read the article that he was hurt after the game. But to me, I would expect this, if he got hurt during the game, for it to come out after the game, because this is something big. This is legacy defining for SGA and Joker when something like this happens. So we expect it to come out right after the game, during the game, not a day before the game. So to me, it's funny business, it's fishy, and it just goes along with the 2020s and what's been going on with all these, I call them phantom injuries. When I saw Jason Tatum get hurt, to me, okay, you could have got hurt any time of the game. You guys you lost momentum, and I'm not sure how much they were down, but it seemed to me they were down by like about 8 or something like that. They lost all momentum, and here comes the Knicks like always. And I think this was like in the last 5 minutes. And the Celtics fumbled that ball at the top of the key, at the 3-point line. And Tatum acted like he was going for the ball, and he didn't get it. And the Knicks got it. And then he's, supposedly ruptured his Achilles. As the Knicks went down, I forget what it was, a dunk or a layup. So that game was pretty much over because of the momentum, even though I think it was like 3 minutes to go. But it just seemed kind of fishy to me that it happened at that moment. It could have happened when they were up or something like that. It could have happened in the last 1 minute. Well, that would have been kind of fishy to me. But it didn't happen under the right circumstances. And that's what's been going on in this NBA for the last 2 years. I heard something from Charles Barkley, and this is going around on social media. And he said something about, if the fans didn't know the game was rigged. And I was like, what? Didn't know the game wasn't rigged? And I was like, what the hell? Basically, the NBA won't be on the up and up. And I think he meant to say if the fans found out it was rigged. Because they were talking about Rudy Gobert saying I think he said something about the ref was fixing the game or something like that, and then they were like trying to dispute it, like the game ain't rigged. And Kenny said something about, oh, sorry to bring up, what was it that year when the Lakers won the championship? I think it was against Sacramento. No, not won the championship, in the Western Conference Finals. And about that whole situation, and people think down the Heat thing and stuff like that, how people thought it was rigged, and then they found out down the Heat was betting on games. And Kenny said something about, oh, sorry to bring up that moment, Shaq. And then Charles Barkley said, if the fans found out it wasn't rigged, like the game won't have, the fans will be mad or something like that. But this is what I'm saying. Charles Barkley meant to say if the fans found out it was rigged. He said, hold on, my fault. Charles Barkley wanted to say if it was rigged. That's what he meant to say. That's why everybody was puzzled and people was making videos of it, saying, what did he just say? But Charles Barkley said if the fans found out it wasn't rigged. But he meant to say if it was rigged. But nobody correct. I think Kenny actually, said it before him. And then Charles Barkley said it. Kenny said if the fans found out it wasn't rigged. And then that's when Charles Barkley said if the fans found out it wasn't rigged. He was like, what? And Charles Barkley didn't correct him. And Kenny didn't correct himself and say if the fans found out it was rigged. They said wasn't. If the fans found out it wasn't rigged, which means it is rigged, if you know what I'm saying. So basically, they try to say if the fans found out if it wasn't rigged. Now, I don't know if both of them meant to say if the fans found out it was rigged. And that's where the question mark was on the video, and everybody was tripping out. But to me, I'm not going to put it all on Charles Barkley, but to me, I've said in the past, Charles Barkley is one of the, if we're going to give the smoke to people like Jerry Rice, who can't be on TV because he can't speak, if we're going to give, and I'm not trying to say people give them smoke, but this is the reason why they couldn't be on TV. The Jerry Rices and who was that? Jerry Rice, Emmitt Smith, and eventually Ray Lewis, right? Because they couldn't complete a damn sentence. They couldn't read off the teleprompter. And, they were all-time greats. But as far as being on TV, they just couldn't do it. And I'm not trying to say I'm the most intelligent person in the world or anything like that. But when we look at Charles Barkley, really? Are you really going to listen to this guy? He can't even finish a sentence. He'll say a lot of times for one, and before he even finish, he'll say in two. And like, what are you talking about? Charles Barkley is one of the most illiterate people I've ever seen on TV. And like I said, I'm not trying to say I'm more intelligent than Charles Barkley, but even Shaq, he knows his limits. You know what I'm saying? He'll speak what you would call, he doesn't speak a lot. And when he does speak, he just, stays in himself. Charles Barkley, he'll be trying to say all these words, all these paragraphs, all these big words, and he just fumbles and bumbles and nobody knows what the hell he's talking about. He won't even finish a sentence. And if he wasn't Charles Barkley, he couldn't even be on TV. If he wasn't an all-time great player, he wouldn't be on TV. But then again, we got Emmitt Smith, we got Ray Lewis, we got Joe Montana. They were the same way. They couldn't read off a teleprompter. They couldn't finish it. I wouldn't say they couldn't finish the sentence. I'm just looking at Charles Barkley. He can't finish the sentence. But I would say those guys can't put together, a intelligent sentence to convince you of what they're talking about. So they never put them on ESPN or ABC or NBC on one of those panels. Now, we all know that Emmitt Smith, they gave him a chance. And they were like, no, this ain't going to work. We know they gave Ray Lewis a chance, and it was like, oh, it's not going to work. And Tony Gonzalez, too. I think Tony Gonzalez, I don't even know if he's still on TV, but I think he was on CBS. It didn't work out. Not trying to say any of those guys are dumb, but when you're on TV, a lot of these guys are scripted. You got to have a certain personality. And even when you're not scripted, you got to be able to be convincing. And you got to have a certain character to yourself. And not that Charles Barkley don't have a certain character to himself. He's funny. He's dumb funny. And like I said, when we look at like ESPN now, the NBA show, and you got Perk on there, he tries to be like a Charles Barkley. He tries to be dumb funny. But the only thing is, he's just dumb. He's not funny. See, Charles Barkley is dumb funny, right? So everybody looks at Charles Barkley like he's dumb. You know what I'm saying? Basically, Kenny Smith is the only intelligent person on that panel. Not saying that Shaq and Charles Barkley don't know basketball, but I'm talking about as far as speaking, Kenny Smith is the only one that's intelligent to me. Not that Perk can't talk basketball. He can. But he tries to be this, tough guy. I'm trying to tell you, he's a knockoff Charles Barkley. That's why they were saying Charles Barkley and Perk is going to clash. Because nobody finds Perk funny. Because he like I said, he tries to be like Charles Barkley, like dumb funny, but at times serious. But when you listen to him, he's just dumb. He's just dumb. He don't scare nobody. He's not funny. He's just dumb, in my opinion. And this is the welfare presence that ESPN now has on the network, whether it's WNBA play-by-play women calling games, whether it's WNBA players calling NBA games, whether it's some play-by-play guys that we never even heard of calling NBA games, whether it's some bad analyst on the panel on ESPN trying to analyze basketball. This is where we are now. This is what I'm just saying, man. And but anyways, getting back to the the whole rig thing, and I was talking about Aaron Gordon and just the rest of these injuries. It just coincides with everything that's going on in this NBA the past few years. Like there's no straight up competition now in this OKC matchup. The competition's been fair. The Celtics, Jason Tatum got hurt. The Milwaukee Bucks against the Pacers, Dame Time got hurt, and he had a medical injury before that. Ja Morant, okay, he didn't really want to play in the series, and then he claimed he was hurt. I'm just saying, that's why I can't be on that panel, because I'm going to say some stuff that I want to say. Michael Jordan fans are the best. I can't be on that panel, which to me is a great panel. All those guys are great. I'm not trying to say I'm better than them, but I mean, to me, I don't think they can talk as realistic as, that needs to be talked about. Because I think, YouTube will ding them, and I don't care. But that's just the facts. When Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith said, if they found out that the league wasn't rigged, you mean, come on, you mean was? Was rigged? Or wasn't? Well, they said if people found out the league wasn't rigged. Wasn't. That means is. It is rigged. But did they mean if people found out the NBA was rigged? That's when we would be going crazy if we found out it was rigged. Not wasn't. Wasn't means it is. I'm just saying, man. Maybe I'm going crazy. I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy. Like, I watch on social media, and I'm guilty of this because I'm on keto, OMAD diet. I don't call it a diet. I call it a way of living because I'm not trying to diet. That's the way I live. But I'm guilty, even though I'm going to criticize it, I'm guilty of watching people who have channels that go around and they eat at these restaurants and they're doing the taste test, this restaurant against this restaurant, or they'll just be like, a taste test period. And I'm like, this is crazy, man. People are out here dying of diabetes, cancer, or have a disease of high blood pressure, all kind of different diseases from food, from fast food, from food made in factories. And these people are out here promoting eating at these places every single day. In these foods, in these fast food companies are filled with chemicals. And I just think it's funny that we could have something like that today. Although you do have, on the other side, you have people who have channels that tell you that, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Chipotle, Chili's, Popeyes, what have you, have all these different chemicals in their food and what it does to you and how it can make you sick. It's just crazy, man. I kind of watch both. But the people who are trying to expose this, I don't know, man. I think they go too far. And I'm not trying to say, it's not great that they're not doing it. But, a lot of these people seem like the people that, just in it for money. And then when the camera goes off, they're eating Chick-fil-A and McDonald's. And I watched this one guy, and I won't put his name out there. Actually, it was two guys. And they go around telling you all these fast food restaurants and all the additives and the sugars and the seed oils and the chemicals they put in all this food. And they were doing a taste test, but they're still eating the food. They're still eating the food. I'm like, no damn way. That's what I'm saying. You can't trust these people because these same people will be eating the food once the camera goes off. And in this case, they were literally eating the food, telling you how bad it was, versus the people who weren't telling you how bad it was, but were just trying to make money off of, pretty much sampling the food and tell you how great it was versus this restaurant, or just telling you how great it was, period. If it was worth buying, if it was worth the money, whatever like that. I don't know what that has to do with basketball. I'm just saying how crazy the world is and how insane it is. But I'm holding Jokić to a standard. He's playing a team that has proven nothing but one regular season so-called dominance in this era. And he lost one of his guys. I don't know if he's going to play or not, Gordon. But at any rate, I expect him to put on an all-time great performance in a win or a loss. Same thing with Gordon. I mean, not Gordon, SGA. Whether they win or they lose, what would you say? Well, I guess you can say Greek freak, right? But these are two of the best players of the 2020s. And they're going to be held accountable for whatever happens. They win or they lose.